Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Pursuit of Wellness, a show where we interact with experts to bring you actionable insights to help you with your journey of wellness. My name is Kabir Uppal and I'll be your host throughout this journey. You can check out our Facebook group, The Pursuit of Wellness. You can also find us on Twitter at TPOW Podcast. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Sproutbox, a premier co-working space in New Delhi. With no lock-ins and month-to-month flexibility, you can choose between shared desks and private workspaces designed to help you build your next big thing. We're actually recording out of our studio here in Sproutbox's Okhla location. Check out our show notes for more details. This is a Muncher Media production. In this episode, we're chatting with Jatin Arora. He's the founder and head trainer at Bootcamp Yellow, which does outdoor functional training and training for runners across its 10 locations in Gurgaon. He's also an Ironman certified coach and a CrossFit Level 2 trainer. In this episode, we're chatting with Jatin about boot camps, CrossFit, and kettlebell training, amongst other things. Let's jump right in. Hey Jatin, welcome to the show.
Hey Kabir, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on, man. So we've already given our audience a little bit of an intro about you, but why don't you give us a small brief to kick off the episode?
Sure. My name is Jatin Arora. I'm the founder and head coach for Bootcamp Yellow, something which started out of my passion about 4 years back. So we are an outdoor fitness community focusing on the running training as well as strength and conditioning for our runners out of Gurgaon as of now. I'm a certified running coach. Just recently completed my Ironman coach certification from Ironman U, CrossFit Level 2 trainer, and recently did my CrossFit Kids certification and working with a very positive, energy-filled community in Gurgaon.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So where did your journey begin? How did you get into fitness? How did you get into training? I know you had a corporate background before this. So tell us about that.
It's an interesting one because, after working for 16 years in a corporate, from selling burgers to working in BPOs. And then after that, my last project was with one of the leading sports store out of Bangalore. So retail takes a kick out of you. And, when I moved back, I was really, into following my passion of running and fitness. And that's where the whole journey started. At that time, when I came back to Gurgaon in about 2012, CrossFit was very new in India. And I started like anybody else, like an amateur, didn't know anything about CrossFit. Started working or rather training in a CrossFit box in Gurgaon. And from there, the whole passion materialized into doing my L1 certification and then, going ahead and doing a few more. And then it just never looked back from there.
Awesome. So you've kind of been part of the journey of, even CrossFit growing in India as well.
Absolutely. I think what I look and a lot of time people come and tell me that before I realize it, that it's been a blend of passion which has converted into a full-fledged career for me as of now. But yeah, I've seen CrossFit, grow in India from there was one box in Gurgaon. And there are, I think, roughly, if I'm not mistaken, there are about 5 or 6 in Gurgaon right now.
Yeah, and many in Delhi as well.
Many in Delhi as well. Yeah, yes, it's picked up pretty well.
Awesome. So now that we're on the topic of CrossFit, tell us a little bit about CrossFit training in general and how that has, what kind of impact that has on trainees that you're working with and people in general in terms of, their pursuit of wellness. How does that differ from, say, the gym or doing other kinds of training?
I think there's a lot of misconception about CrossFit out in people and people find it very scary. I think it is one of the most, or I would say it is one of the best ways of getting back to fitness. It takes care of your complete strength, your endurance. You talk about if you follow the right CrossFit way, you follow your nutrition. I think it's a holistic approach. The only word of caution I would like to throw over here is that you need to ensure that you know your limits. When I say you know your limits, you are getting into a CrossFit box. Things are going to be explosive. Things are going to be tough. Don't push yourself too much. Follow your trainer. The guy standing over there and conducting the class knows what is to be done. I hope he does. I'm sure he's experienced enough to drive that class. And just follow him. Don't try to overachieve than what your body can't. And just couple it up with good nutrition plan. Follow it up with good supplementation plan. And I think it's one of the best ways to get back into fitness. Not necessarily that you have to be a big bodybuilder or you need to become big. I think it fits for whether you're a runner, whether you are a housewife, whether you're a mother just given birth to a kid 9 months back, about a year back, need to get back into fitness. You just need to progress with that.
thing I've kind of noticed about CrossFit, at least, in the community and the people that I know that are involved, it seems more of a group and inclusive
it's
training.
Community.
Yeah, it's
the
more
only
community.
word which you look at is community. I train in a gym as well. I work with a lot of clients in the gym. The culture I see and the culture I see in a box is very, very different. You're working together, you're cheering everybody, you're pushing everybody. If you see somebody is not doing something right, you go and help, and that's what motivates and that's what pushes people. In a gym, the culture is generally, you're on your own, wearing your headsets on the treadmill or lifting or doing on your own. No, I'm not saying that it is not that people don't like that, but the community aspect which comes in, it's different.
Awesome. So that's one of the, I'd say large differences in terms of doing CrossFit versus a gym, right? There's the community angle actually keeps people motivated and really helps to kind of push you in terms of, your personal journey as well, right?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. So what does a normal day look like for Jatin Arora? What is, I know you train a lot of people, you're doing a lot of coaching, motivating. What does your day look like?
Day starts very early. I am out of the house at 4:45 a.m. It's been last over 4 years now. It's never looked back. So I'm out of the house 4:45. Our training starts as early as 5:15. By the time you wrap up your morning trainings, it's about 11. After that, it's a regular. Because we have multiple locations, we have a large number of people training with us. So it requires a lot of support work, which needs to be worked out at. So that takes the normal general part of the day. And then I'm back out again in the afternoons, working with individual clients. And a very important aspect, which I never let go, is my own training. So post 5:30 is a few hours of my own training, and I spend time on that. And I think I close my day at 7:30 back home. Love spending a lot of time with my boys. Those are my energy busters. Got 2 sons, so they take a lot of time out of me in the evenings. And that's how the day is. That's how the routine is. And it's pretty interesting how it works.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about why boot camps. Why not say a box, or why not a different model of training people? Why boot camps?
I think what made me, move more towards the outdoors was purely, that I moved back from Bangalore. That was a city where, outdoor culture was huge. I was a lot into running and cycling. So when I came back to Gurgaon, for me, working out in a gym was never in. I was always very away from that. When I came back working with the Reebok running squad for good about 3.5, 4 years, that kind of converted and changed my thought process. And I think you may just call it that it worked out in a way that, we were working with a lot of runners, and the runners loved being in the outdoors, and early mornings. And that's how everything started. Of course, not taking away the point that, looking at opening a gym in a box, I did work on that. I did work on my business model. And when I looked at the cost and I looked at the overheads, it just didn't make any business sense where I would start something and scale it up and work on it. And then that's how, and it was my first project on my own. I was scared, of investing in a business with and opening something which I had just started. Credibility was a big factor as a trainer. It's not just that you do a certification and you stand there and people will come and train with you. So, we need to get started from somewhere. And Gurgaon has some beautiful outdoor spaces. Gurgaon has some beautiful open condos with green spaces. We're just making use of those. That's as simple as it is.
Great. And talking a little bit about the scaling angle, talking a little bit about the business angle of it, how have you got it to a point where you've spent, now a good 5 years, you'd say?
This is our 5th year. We've just completed our 4th year last month. We've scaled it up. So we are out of 10 different locations now where we cover strength and conditioning. We have 4 locations where we are covering up running trainings. So in total, 14 locations, and every location where you train out of will always have a certified coach or a trainer who will be standing there early in the morning and training with you. So it's taken us 4 years where our first 2 locations were up and ready only for 2 years. We scaled up majority last year. The first battle we were fighting was acceptance. People were not used to the concept of just training in open parks. A lot of mindset had to be changed. People had to believe in you, that what you're doing. So rather than going and spending time in putting posters and banners and giving flyers in newspapers, we spend that time working with athletes, making sure that they are getting their results. Spent a lot of time in nurturing trainers. The kind of community we are trying to build, the kind of people we want to make sure that they're standing and training is very, very, I would say, inclusive in trainings, where they are more driven towards an athlete than just making sure that he's just standing over there. So that took me a little time in creating a little academy of my trainers. Either we've been blessed to get people who've come to us, believed in doing the internship with us, spending time before they could take a session, or they've been our members, made sure that they go do certifications, and then they start training. So we have a few people who are corporate senior leaders in a couple of companies. They've gone and done certifications, and now they are standing and making sure that our trainings happen. And it's taken us years. That has helped us in scale up. And of course, when the word to mouth spreads out, where people want to train with you, and then they, want your trainers to be standing there with them, and getting them to stand there early in the morning at 5:15. It's not an easy task for a trainer, whether it's winter, summers, or it's raining. It's a different thought process. I understand, a lot of gyms do this on a weekend, on a Saturday or a Sunday, but doing it day in, day out, 7 days a week, 365 days, whether it's a holiday or not, it takes time. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and that requires some serious commitment from the the trainer's angle as well as the trainees.
Absolutely, I think it requires a lot of commitment from the trainees as well. Being there in the morning, it itself is a big motivating factor of, as a trainer, you're standing there and there are 18 people. Like today morning, we had 3 batches training over there. Every batch had about 15 odd people on time, making sure that we start on time there. And it just motivates and it pushes and makes sure that the trainer is giving his best.
Chatting a little bit about the kind of brands and, larger entities that are in the space, how has the inclusion and the growth of fitness brands and wellness brands kind of helped the ecosystem and also helped, Bootcamp Yellow's journey as well?
I think these brands are playing a very, very important and crucial role in getting overall as a community active. I mean, my journey started with Reebok. I mean, I started in 2013 with Reebok Running Squad, where they wanted to start a project of getting people active. Of course, there was a marketing angle to it. And again, it was a free training which they were providing to athletes on a weekend. And the best part was they were doing it with good, certified, credible coaches. And that's what changed the whole ballgame of people coming out and training with people who are professional in their career. They're training people. And that's where the whole motivating factor is right now. And that's been a successful model. We started with 4, 5 locations in NCR when Reebok started this. And the last, I've heard is 25 locations all across India. They're doing good. And that's how, looking at them, there are a lot of other brands who've picked up as well. They are going around and sponsoring their athletes. They're going around and giving gears to athletes and, just adding on to the seriousness. And it's adding the whole, building the active culture, which all the brands are doing. And it's I think it's, as a whole, from a community fitness aspect, it's doing great.
Awesome. So touching a little bit more about boot camps, what do you think is important when somebody hasn't done a boot camp yet? When somebody's potentially coming to say Bootcamp Yellow and they're like about to start off, what is some of the most important things to keep in mind?
Kabir, I think bootcamp as a name scares a lot of people. They think that bootcamp culture is only to come out, sweat it out, get your hands dirty, crawl and jump, and it's more than that. I mean, yes, universally you look at bootcamp, that's the normal culture, that 1 hour of crazy sweat and you'll be lying down on the floor, and that's how the feeling is. And that's a feedback a lot of people have given me as well, that in simple words, if I say, "Arey, tum to bahut mushkil se karate ho," I mean, that's what people come back and tell me. It's taken us years of evolving. Also, it's been a learning journey for us as well, where we started with just making sure that everybody's training together. But it is a very focused, planned approach is what we work with. For example, if anybody who comes in gets in a quick, 2 to 5 minute of discussion with me or any of the trainers to understand if there are any niggles, pains, anything which we need to take care of. And then he gets into a beginners group where we only focus on body mechanics. We only focus on basic endurance, body weight strength. We're not giving him, we're not asking him to crawl where he can't even touch his knees and, his hamstrings are tight that he can't even bend forward. We understand that. Our trainers are professionals. They are certified. They're educated. So the idea is not to get them there and work with them for an hour. Then they walk out and saying, "Aaj maza aa gaya." That is not the concept. Yeah. Get them to work hard, get them to put a goal in place, get them to work towards that goal systematically, slowly, couple it up with a good nutrition plan for them, giving them the right guidelines, giving them the right inputs, connecting with them with the right nutritionist to make sure they just don't come there for 1 hour. They make the difference for the remaining 23 hours as well. That is the important aspect. 1 hour of sweating out, you can just do anywhere. So it's a holistic journey we are providing him. We're not just there to, burn him out an hour. So yeah, it's a very different concept. And that's where we are approaching, and that's where we are trying to change the mindset and putting a lot of communications through social media, through our trainers, through our athletes, that it's more than just being there for an hour.
Awesome. And I think you had mentioned that about the changing of the mindset as well, right? In terms of gyms, they do it like on the weekend, they do one class for their members, right? Here, this is a day in, day out thing.
Yes.
This is every day.
Yeah.
And it's as good as, or pretty much the same as potentially going to the gym every day or doing yoga every day. This is in its own way a different type of pursuit of wellness as well.
Absolutely. I mean, after working for an hour, I mean, the way our culture is right now, the way our busy lives are, you can't expect everybody to go to a gym in the evening, post-working hours, spending an hour and a half, 2 hours walking out of it and saying, I kind of didn't get that feel. You're there early in the morning, you start your day early, spend that 1 hour with us. You burn at an average of 450 to 500 to 600 calories, totally depending on what the intensity you put in. You're done for the day. You are, you go out, go to work, you're a working mother, you have the whole day to yourself, what you want to do. Your fitness is taken care of. What else would you need? And along with the, being there for an hour, what we are providing is, the like-minded people training together, some very senior leaders training there, getting their hands dirty in the outdoors. And you're just building a nice little culture of fit community. And that's what is, I would say, driving people back again to us, what we're doing.
I actually wanted to touch a little bit upon kettlebell training.
Yeah.
How that's kind of come about in India as well. And, what are some things that people should know about kettlebell training?
I personally find kettlebells one of the very aggressive, dynamic tool to train with. We use it quite a lot in our trainings. Of course, it is easy to carry for us, in the outdoors. One thing we need to know is that, you need to be a little careful when you're using it. People use it in all funny ways. I look at it. You need to get an expert or somebody who's certified to work with you on that. There are a couple of very senior leaders or trainers, I would say, who are there, who do some crazy stuff and great stuff, really motivating to look at them to work with. So yeah, I mean, looking at a kettlebell, it is a very explosive move, works a lot on what people work is on the posterior. And looking at the runners, I think it's one of the best tool. It totally works on their posterior, works on their pelvic. What people don't understand is that kettlebell is one of the best tools to work on joint stability, in working in rehab, in working with strengthening the ligaments and tendons. But you need to know who's training you there. Yes, people do find using kettlebells, a little tough because it hits on areas which probably you would not work in a gym. So people then find those muscle groups sore. So you need to be patient with it, work with it, and get out of that mindset that it's a scary tool. It's one of the best tools to work with.
So you could have a completely holistic workout with a kettlebell.
15 minutes of workout with a kettlebell, you're done for the day. So when I was doing my workshop, we had a 10-minute exam which we had to give. And the 10-minute exam, trust me, it was a tough one when I did that. Yeah.
So a little bit about your personal workout for your own pursuit of wellness. What is Jatin Arora's favorite workout? Like once you're done with the day, we said that, you get to do your own training post 5:30. What is your favorite workout? What do you enjoy the most?
For me, I try to keep it a mix of endurance and CrossFit. I love lifting. That's my favorite, stress buster. Right now, we are in off season. Running is totally taken a backseat for the next 2 to 3 months at least. So this is the time when I need to get back to my strength. Last year, unfortunately, I had a couple of injuries. I was not able to train 100%. So this year I've patiently been there. So back to my CrossFit workouts, spend at least an hour and a half in the evening. Right now, focus is only strength and power. Once that's over, yes, endurance will kick back. Targets are to do a couple of long runs in the month of September, October when the season starts. But yeah, I mean, looking at strength training, that just gives me the kick. A lot of overhead squatting. That's my favorite to train with, lifting heavy and lifting crazy. That's what I work with.
Awesome. And how do you manage your personal nutrition?
I take that as not 100% follower, I would say. But what I do is I try to eat clean. I try to at least keep it clean when it comes to my big meals. I very firmly believe in supplementation. When I say supplementation, it's all about making sure you're taking your multivitamins, you're taking your omegas, you're taking enough macros, you're taking enough proteins, not necessarily in the form of a protein shake, but eating clean, good food. I tend to cheat with my boys around. Yeah, I mean, they love eating pancakes.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, I mean, when they're doing it, I try to cheat sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I think I firmly tell my athletes, that fitness is not just about following a very rigid and plan which you can't follow. You should train to follow a good, healthy lifestyle where you are living a normal life. You are eating what you feel like at times. If you want to have a beer, why not? But yes, burn it out, balance it off. And that's what I keep on working with. And I follow it personally, to be honest. Yeah.
Awesome. So fitness doesn't have to be necessarily tedious or something that, as you said, that rigid where, you're stuck eating only clean meals and only being very, very strict with yourself.
Yeah. In the end, again, we need to figure out what your objective is, what your long-term plan is. We have certain people who are very particular about their long distance running, and they're very particular about their body weight, their fat percentage. They keep on, measuring it after every 15 days. So yeah, they do follow a very strict diet. And there are people who just want to do fitness for the joy of running, for the joy of, living healthy. So yeah, there are people who enjoy it. And in the end, it's all about fitness physically, mentally, and, keeping a good social connect with everybody around.
A little bit more about that. What is your process of coaching and motivating some of your trainees? What are some things that you face on a daily basis, and how do you help people kind of stay on the track?
See, I'm a very, very big, firm believer in keeping it simple. We don't want to do some fancy stuff and then look great on different podiums. We don't want to do that. We want to keep it simple. It's a process. Things don't change in a day. It's a slow process where you need to educate your athlete that it will take time. We are not there just to make sure that you stand on a scale and that 1,000 rupee scale will tell you whether you're fit or not. We don't do that. There are a lot of times you put questions across, that you don't even take my weight. Why? You go to a gym, the first thing they'll do is they'll take 10 different measurements and they'll say, oh, you know what, you're fit now because your graph has gone down. No, we're not looking at that. We're looking at how you are feeling. And that feel factor is what really gets people motivated. If I'm feeling happy, if I'm feeling, content with what I'm doing, you will be there in the morning. I don't need to motivate him. He will be there in the morning at 5:15 to make sure that he's training with us. And that's what we believe in, keeping it simple, making sure that he understands what he is in it for. Just standing over there and telling him to 10, 20 burpees will not going to solve the purpose. We need to make him understand why you're doing it. Follow a simple process. So that's what, when it comes to motivate. See, coaching, when it comes to coaching, we need to be resilient. When I say resilient, we need to go back and kick it back to them saying that you need to do it. We need to be very firm. I mean, our average age group of our bootcamp is about 34, 35. So we've got some very senior people, training with us. But when we are pushing, they're as good as 18-year-old for us. We need to make sure that there's a trainer who's half their age and he's training them, and he's make sure that, he's working with them, being resilient in terms of pushing him and doing him the right thing. And that's what coaching is all about. It's not about just telling him to do something and then step out of it. Coaching him, correcting him, guiding him, holding his hand, and making sure he achieves his goals step by step.
Yeah, so it's not only just that 1 hour training session that kind of helps you motivate them or keep them on track, right? It's something that's every day. It's something that, is, as you mentioned before, what they do for the next 23 hours as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, we train 3 hours in the morning. I spend more time after that on my WhatsApp, in my groups, in talking to people, doing one-to-ones, giving them the right information, sharing the right knowledge. There are a lot of people who come back with a lot of questions, repetitive questions also. But you need to be patient and answer those to make sure that they get closer to their goal. And I think that's what drives them as well, when they get that attention, when they get that focus. Not just from me. I think this is duplicated and replicated by all my team members, and they're doing the same thing. They do spend that time and extra patient hour or there's 5 minutes replying to the WhatsApp, to a one-to-one or a group message.
Awesome. So talking a little bit more about, your trainers and how they're also training some of your clients. What do you think is important in terms of picking the right kind of trainer? Before we started the podcast, we were chatting a little bit about the ecosystem and how, maybe 2 years ago, 4 years ago, it was difficult to find good talent. But now that's kind of slowly improving. And as you said, people have worked under you and trained with you and become better. But how do you find good trainers, and what is important to keep in mind?
I think that is one of the most important and an aspect where we worked hard on. When I started 4 years back, to find a trainer with the attitude you wanted was the toughest part. Skills and knowledge is you gain in the journey. Attitude is something you need to have it inbuilt. So it took me a little time to find the right attitude. When I started bootcamp or training in the outdoors was nowhere a culture in Gurgaon. People didn't know anything like that existed. Yes, people were doing it in small pockets, but the whole culture was totally new. So getting a guy who was standing in a gym for 8 hours in an AC environment, getting all the facilities he can, to get him out at 5 in the morning to train for you, it was a tough battle. We've had people coming there and just looking at it and telling us, oh shit, what are you guys doing? I can never do this. And those are not the people we are looking at. So yeah, I mean, we've got people who have either changed their mindset, or athletes who've trained with us over time. We've kind of worked with them to do a few certifications. So I'm a very firm believer in education, where you need to be a certified coach. So, education plays a role long way. It's not necessarily that if I'm a good athlete, I'm a good runner, or I have a good physique, I can train people. No, a good athlete, cannot necessarily be a good trainer. A good trainer can turn into be a good athlete. That's a different story. But, you need that education, you need that experience, you need that mindset to train somebody standing over there. And yes, that's what we've built in. So for us, anybody who comes in, goes through that internship, spends some time with our trainers, shadows him, we see that whether he mixes with the people or not, whether he can, conduct sessions with the kind of profile of people we train, and touch wood, now we're at a point where we get a phone call that we want to start training with you and be a part of your team. It just makes me feel proud sometimes, that what we've done or achieved in the last 4 years. But yeah, that's where we are, and the journey is progressing.
Awesome. And so for some of our listeners who may want to find a great trainer, or for some of our listeners who might potentially want to pursue a career in training and, get some certifications, what are some things they should look at? What are the kind of certifications people should keep an eye out for?
I think a very important part which we need to look at is you need to look at credible sources. There are a lot of people now in the community, because they've had the experience and they started training people. I'm not saying that they are bad or they are wrong. I think you need to first see that what interests them, whether it's yoga, whether it's Zumba, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's any kind of functional training, whether it's nutrition, anything which you like to be a part of the community. You need to go ahead and speak to professionals in this community. Social media is playing a very, very good role over there. Connect with them, speak to them, understand what they can do. Look for credible sources to get yourself trained, certify yourself. And before you start handling a client, get some experience. It's a different story by just reading a book, writing an exam, than to actually working with a client. You can learn all your muscles, you can learn your anatomy, but when you're standing with the client and you try to just not able to identify what he's doing or where you need to correct him, you can injure him. And once you injured him, it can, take a toll on your career itself. So be patient, work with, there are a lot of good gyms here where they're doing some good training programs as well. We really encourage internships for people to come and train, spend those hours, shadowing our trainers, work and, spend some time and learn the business, how it's done, learn the traits of being a good trainer. And that's how we're doing.
Awesome. So experience and, credible sources, you would
Absolutely.
say.
And what very important people forget is that, you need to constantly learn. The way we are evolving, there are so many new trends coming in, whether it's in India, whether it's in the US or any part of the world. You need to keep yourself updated, learn. Constant learning has to be focused on, no matter you're a beginner as a trainer or you spend years in this community or in this profession. You need to constantly get yourself upgraded. These days athletes come to us and they've used the internet in such, or they've researched about it so well that sometimes they ask you questions which you have to be updated with. I mean, I'll give you an example for myself. We started Bootcamp Yellow about 4 years back, where people had just started running with us. Today is a situation where people did their duathlon earlier this year, where they did cycle and running, and now you hear there are so many people who've gone and done Ironmans from India. But the way things are evolving, how many Ironman coaches do we have? And that's what clicked me. And that's where I went and did it. Not that I'm training anybody right now, but my whole idea was to get myself educated, learn on the job. And when these people start asking me questions, and questions started coming already from my athletes. There are some strong runners. There are some cyclists. They're learning swimming now. There are some good swimming coaches in Gurgaon who are training people to swim. So just want to be ready, prepared before this gets bigger. And that's what I would request people to, spend some time educating themselves, learning how the trade is done and implement it. Not just taking a certificate, hanging into the room or in their office. Implement it with the athletes, share the knowledge, share it with your community. And that's how we will, make better athletes out of us.
Absolutely. So practice as well, right?
Absolutely.
And what are some sources you personally have used in the past or currently use to kind of keep yourself updated in terms of trends, in terms of research, whatever it might be?
So see, I did my first certification from ACE, American Council on Exercise. So I very firmly follow them. They have some great blogs which they share, some very good information available. Since I've done my CrossFit, I'm a part of their community, so I get a lot of good write-ups from them. And there are some very senior coaches who are available, who are a part of this community. Follow them. And there are some great books available. Keep on reading. There are some good books on running available, anatomy, rehab. Just get hold of books and spend some time. I made it a rule of spending at least an hour every day of either listening to a podcast or listening to an interview or reading something new, which kind of just helps me. And that's what is making me ready to what I'm getting into.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about some of your trainees and their success stories. You've been training now for quite a long time here in Gurgaon.
Yes.
Some stories that you would want some of our listeners to know and be motivated by.
It's been a fantastic journey. I remember my first message I got from somebody. It was not about losing weight. It was not about doing a strong half marathon. It was not about hitting your 1 rep max. When he sent a message to me saying, you know what, Jatin, I'm off my cholesterol tablets. I was like, wow, that's an achievement one looks at. And, I'm happy to get that. And that gives me more, I would say, sense of accomplishment, if I may call it, that I have done that. My athletes come and tell me before joining, I was in a place where I was depressed. I didn't have any life. I didn't know how to spend my time. And now they are socially active. They are, they are out of their depression. They are some great runners now. So I think that is some great success stories I may share. And there are some great feedbacks and some great reviews which have been there on our Facebook page. If you want, you can certainly go and read it. Our website, bootcampyellow.com, has those stories already. Just go have a look at it. And I think that's what pushes us and motivates us to get back.
That's a great story. I think if you can help people kind of get off medication or, not specific to just, that I lost this much weight or I was able to kind of run this marathon. How can people get in touch with you? What is a good way for people to, find you, be in touch with you, learn about all the great things that you're doing?
You can visit my website, bootcampyellow.com. You'll find my numbers, social media, bootcampyellow.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Jatin Arora. Anywhere you'll find, certainly you can straight away connect with me. I do flash my number. I want people to call me rather than an answering machine or a IVR. I want direct connect. And that's what we're doing. One thing I really want to touch upon, recently, it's been my third year as well, which has been a very good success story for Bootcamp is, that we work with a foundation which is very close to my heart. It's called Lotus Petal Foundation. It's a full-time school. We have roughly around 400 kids now in that school, starting from kindergarten to 12th graders. We have 3 kids who are finishing off 12 this year. So we've been very actively participating in raising funds for that school. Airtel Delhi Half Marathon has been our biggest platform in raising funds for that school. So my journey started with them in just spending a few hours twice a week to be as simple as a PT teacher, teaching them simple drills, getting them to get up and run. And now we're in a situation that last year we had 83 people running the ADHM, and we have a full-time PE teacher over there now. I work with him now. He comes and attends my trainings in the morning to go back and implement the same thing in the school with the kids. So yeah, we've been the maximum fundraiser last 2 years. This year we were again the maximum fundraiser in the Airtel Half Marathon. So that journey is something which I take it as a success for Bootcamp, and that's happened purely because of all the the athletes, the community members who very openly, generously, graciously, supported us in taking care of that school.
Awesome. That sounds like a great cause that you're working on. Yeah. And if people want to donate or, help you with that foundation in any way, how can they kind of get in?
You can straight away go to lotuspetalfoundation.org, connect over there. You can donate, online. Either you are in India or anywhere in the world, you can make a donation. We are open to all across the world.
Awesome. And just for our listeners, you'll be able to find all of that information in the show notes, along with all the information on how to get in touch with Jatin as well. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jatin. I think that was wonderful, and there's some great information here for our listeners. Any closing thoughts that you have for Pursuit of Wellness listeners?
I think it's been a great journey. I mean, a couple of things which I really want to highlight, and I kind of keep on talking about. To everybody who's starting their journey into fitness, start it slow. Don't try to rush it. I mean, I keep on telling people, don't try to do too many things too fast. Make a plan, put an objective in place where you want to be 1 year from now, 2 years from now. Don't look at it where you want to be, a month from now. Break it up, and just don't think about fitness is not just about physical. It is a lot about internal, what you're eating, how you're internally, get your nutrition under check, get your blood test reports done regularly, make sure you are following your supplementation plan, and make it a holistic approach, not just a physical approach. And that's all. And I think thank you very much, Kabir, for having me here. And it's been a fantastic journey for me as of now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jatin. Alright guys, that was our episode with Jatin Arora. Hope you found it interesting, and stay tuned for more episodes. You can follow us at Twitter at TPOW Podcast, and also on our Facebook group, The Pursuit of Wellness. This was a Muncher Media production.